Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special episode of the Nethercast. This is our first Patreon exclusive. So the way this episode works is, if you're a patron, you get to vote for the content you want to see on the channel. And for the month of July, what won the vote is an episode in which anyone who wanted to be on this episode, in this case it's me, Shad, and Smokeman, will talk about fan fiction, basically. Basically, we're coming up with our own ideas for if we were to make a sequel to Armageddon, if the reboot had never happened, you know, if there had been no MK9, what would we have liked to see the game after Armageddon be about? That's the premise. And I'm fairly certain the reason that this was voted for is that folks on our Discord happen to know that I have a somewhat elaborate idea in answer to that question. So since mine is so fleshed out, I'm gonna let you guys go first. So who wants to start?
I think I'll start.
Okay.
By all means.
Mine isn't all that elaborate. It's just I would have liked to see something continue on with Dark Raiden and Liu Kang, with him being sort of his enforcer. Just because I want to see Dark Raiden done right, you know? Like, I think it's kind of weird how, barring MK versus DC, he's had a Dark Raiden costume for the past... since fucking Deception. And they've never fucking got him right.
Yeah, they always include the costume, but they never do the story.
They never do the story. Like, you can get a tiny glimpse of it at the beginning of 11, and it's good for what it is. And then they chicken the fuck out. In fact, 11's also the first time he has red fucking lightning like he should.
Yeah, that's been a request for a long time, and there were like glimpses of it, like when he'd teleport in 9, it was red, but the actual like lightning bolts he'd throw were not.
You know what though? Now that it's a full possibility in MK11, I almost never use it. It seems weird and foreign to me. Not bad, but just weird.
Well, because it's the default. Since it's the default, it makes you not want it as much.
Possible.
If it were the alternate, you'd fucking use that shit all the time.
Yeah, I used Dark Raiden quite a bit in MK9, but I don't really use it in 11. And I think part of that is because, like, I don't use any of the evil skins for characters because their intros all fit the good versions.
To me, it might be a bit off topic, but like I don't use the Revenant. The Revenant skins are fucking worthless to me in the game. Like and NRS knows it too, that they're worthless because people don't want to look at their fucking gross zombie shit. They want to see their fucking human cells. They got to make that the hardest shit to get.
I think the problem with skins is that the color scheme is so boring. Like, not only do they all have the gray skin, but they're all kind of wearing very desaturated clothing. So it's almost like when you're looking at a Revenant, you're looking at the game in grayscale.
Yeah, it goes on a character-by-character basis for me. There are a select few people that I enjoy using the Revenant for. Like,
there is one character who I semi-regularly play as the Revenant, and that's Liu Kang. But I use the shirtless one because I'm trying to play Deception Zombie Liu Kang.
I use Kung Lao every now and then, but I find myself using Nightwolf quite a bit because I think they've really knocked his Revenant skin right out of the park.
Yeah, the Revenant Nightwolf actually has some color to him. Like, he's got red in the face paint that's actually like a bright red, and like his, you know, the skins and things he's wearing, some of them have like a very bright orange and brown or blue or whatever color it may be. I think Revenant Nightwolf actually kind of works because, like, it reminds me of the Sin Eater storyline from Deception.
It would be kind of cool if he turned into something that looked like that when he ate all the sins for a quick minute.
It's so much better looking than the one with the mohawk that he had in that game that was supposed to be like... Ugh. That was supposed to be like the tainted, sinful Nightwolf.
It's to look like fucking Chief Thunder from KI1.
Yeah.
I have eaten all the sins. Now that I've done that, I have bought 3 Sex Pistol albums, the Misfits' entire back discography, and I got a mohawk to prove it.
But yeah, man, the only Revenant skins I use are, honestly, it might actually just be Kabal, because he's the only one with like a shirt that reminds me of MK3. Because I don't use his human skins are bad. His human skins are bad. It's either fucking the shirtless Freddy Krueger shit.
You know what?
Offensive.
I use the shirtless, like, human burned skin as my primary for Kabal, just because I don't like the gray. But I would be willing to use, like, Revenant Kabal. Like, I think it.
I would be using the one with the sleeves off.
Yeah,
that's the one I use.
He's mostly covered up, so you don't have to, like, see so much of the skin. And that's the outfit of his that has the most, like, appropriate amount of, like, olive green and brown pants. You know?
I tend to use Revenant Kabal with the classic mask on, out of, like, not just to be insulting, but a lack of anything else really suitable, you know?
Yeah, like Kabal doesn't have a proper MK3 classic skin.
If I actually cared to purchase, like, the Halloween pack or whatever it was, I might be inclined to use, like, the shirt that comes with that, because
I have a variation with the Jason themed Kabal equipped, and I put, like, the classic mask on him, so he just looks like Kabal in street clothes. It's okay, but it's also kind of, like, colored bland.
Day off.
But my idea, something with actual evil Dark Raiden. You know what? I'd go a step further. I think that I really liked how the ending that all the endings in X teased with the reverse MK1 idea with going after Outworld.
Yeah, where Raiden starts a tournament against Outworld. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that idea. I like that idea really good. Really good. Yeah, that's good. That's good English right there.
That's the way you do it.
Yep.
He's been spelling with a K for 20 years, folks. I've actually got a couple of rough ideas, but it helps to illustrate them if I just stare at the Armageddon roster and put myself in the headspace that I was in after Armageddon came out, where I didn't know what the future would be.
Yeah, that's, like, the tricky part and with my own idea is that I started working on it in, like, 2008 or something, so, like, MK vs. DC wasn't a thing yet. And, like, I was actually, like, what can I see happening next? What do I expect? What would I like? And over time, I've sort of modified my idea to include, like, okay, Kodokan exists now. So do I like pretend I'm writing for a universe where he never existed, like it's still 2008, or do I actually like imagine that I'm writing for like a remade universe where some of these characters could be transplanted? And I tried to come up with a story that could go either way. So like Kotal's in it, but he's not necessarily like super important. Like you could remove him and keep the basics of my idea if you didn't want to have that kind of universe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going from the perspective that like 9 through 11 hadn't happened, not because I dislike them or anything. Again, you know, they're not terrible, but just because I didn't have any knowledge of the future cast or what have you.
Right.
And coming out of Armageddon, you know, everyone's problem, or a lot of people's problem at that point in time, was the story wasn't really fleshed out enough. There was a skeleton there, and we'd seen a lot of characters we hadn't seen in a number of years.
Yeah, and like none of them really got explained where they had been or like why they came back. Like,
or a very select few.
Jarek got some like joke bullshit. But like Kai got nothing.
Yeah, okay. So I think I'll go through the characters a bit, like, well, one by one, not like in great detail, but maybe specify what I would have had in mind for them.
Okay.
So Scorpion after Armageddon was kind of in a really angsty, pissed off, state because the Elder Gods had resurrected the Shirai Ryu as a bunch of undead zombies.
Yeah.
And I know you didn't agree with that, and you didn't like how angry he was written and wanting to, destroy the entire world and whatnot. But I think I might have taken it as an opportunity to develop his character a little bit and maybe kind of use the Shiryu in the Netherrealm as a force for reform. Like, maybe this could have been Scorpion's path to actually remaking the Netherrealm in his... I wouldn't have actually put him up as an antagonist, but put him back to that, like, wild card, loner type of individual who's kind of got his own agenda. Sub-Zero, I have a difficult time actually thinking about where to go with him. I mean, it's heretical, but I might have actually maybe placed him on the back burner at this point. Or I might have actually had him working to rehabilitate Noob, Saibot, and or Smoke. Reptile, I think I might have given a game off. He had a big moment. He didn't do much in Armageddon.
I mean, he got to be Onaga, but technically it's not him, it's Onaga, so it's kind of a weird gray area of does that count as a big moment for Reptile, or does that count as, like, Reptile sitting out,
Yeah.
But I get it, like, Reptile's kind of hard to fit into things because he's so low importance in the overall MK universe. And it sucks to say because he has so many fans.
Still, he had a pretty good run, and I think he was about ready to sit a game out at that point. So I put him on the back burner. Rain's a difficult one because I feel like from where we left off with him in Armageddon, we know that he at that point had a distinct idea of his lineage. So there was a place to go with him. But I feel like making that work also would have required maybe Taven or Dagon. But I'll get to that in a bit. Maybe not necessarily.
I'm surprised that Rain didn't get as much play in Armageddon because of his relationship to those two.
Well, I think you have to consider that Rain hadn't been seen since Trilogy. The idea of him being related to Taven and Dagon was something they came up with in that game to put him in that game in the first place. So the little amount that he gets was it was a lot compared to nothing,
It was a big expansion on what his trilogy ending initially hinted at, that he had like this big secret lineage. But rather than just being the son of an Edenian general, he's actually a demigod in the real sense of the term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I might have actually maybe had him and Katana have some sort of rivalry to actually bring that to the forefront.
I mean, I'll be honest, if I was remaking Armageddon, I would put Rain in it a lot more, because that is kind of his one chance. Like, he should be sort of this recurring thing, like, he's hunting Taven, and he, like, runs into, like, 3 or 4 different times instead of just once. That would have made more sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard for me to think of, like, stuff for Rain to do outside of the context of a game that Taven's in.
I might have put Ermac on the back burner because he also had a pretty great moment in Deception. He was one of the folks in Armageddon that didn't get anything to do. He was just kind of there. But still, he had a pretty good fleshed out character arc at that point. He'd more or less redeemed himself for all of his sins, so I might have had him as an actual advisor to Katana at that point. At this point in time, I believe that people were already speculating, I know I was, that he might have had the soul of Gerard in him. So I would have maybe had him as a background advisor to Katana.
The way I remember the forums before MK9 came out, there was sort of like this this grassroots movement among like a few, I would say, weirdos who wanted them to establish that Jared was Drawman.
That's...
yeah, which does not work, because that means Jared was a bad person who went to hell.
No. Let's...
Also, Drawman's bio says he's only 150 years old. Not 10,000.
Why did they want... What's the logic?
They just wanted this... Draman is a guy who has this mysterious backstory that before he went to hell, he was some kind of, like, ruler, like some warlord. So they were searching for named characters for him to be. That's all it was.
Because in those days, everybody had to be somebody if we didn't already know who they were.
Yeah, everybody had to have a secret, shocking origin. Like, you gotta remember that part of the DNA of the MK fan base is if you go back in time to 1997, people are like, when's Chao Kang gonna be in a game?
Oh my god, all the people that Ultimate MK3 Sub-Zero was supposed to be.
Right?
Johnny Cage, the Great Kung Lao, Sub-Zero's dad.
Is Frost the sister?
It's actually a girl, they fooled us. Like, the speculation was rampant and insane. But anyway.
Sometimes you have to fight against these wild ideas, because if they catch fire, they become chrome. But yeah, like, I remember, like, there were a few people every once in a while who would be like, yo, what if Draman was secretly Jared? But I don't remember anybody thinking about it being Ermac. I remember that when 9 came out and said that, it was more of a, like, an aha moment. It was, I can't believe we didn't think of that.
No, I mean, on my part, I've been thinking for a really long time, ever since Ultimate MK3, that if Ermac was trilogy, I should say, that if Ermac was, like, comprised of the souls of vanquished Outworld warriors, why couldn't that mean that a bunch of Edenians couldn't be in there as well, and maybe Katana's dad? That's never something that I, like, put forward as a theory, but it had crossed my mind. So when MK9 came out with that, I was like, nice! They saw it too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like the idea. I'm just, like, it's not something that I had heard of the fans come up with before.
Chameleons. Shit.
Keep in mind, there are like 64 characters on the roster. You can just say some of them died at the pyramid, you know.
Again, I'm thinking of this in terms of where I was in 2008, and by that point, I'd been long lobbying for, like, the female Chameleon to actually be a full part of the main roster. But in a game without Reptile, she's got no real reason to be around.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to kill Reptile off and have somebody pick up the torch for his race, like, Chameleon could become a full character.
Yeah.
Because she's replacing him, although I don't think people would appreciate that, the same way they would probably not appreciate a game that had Frost but not Sub-Zero in it.
Exactly. I don't know what to do with the male Chameleon. I mean, I know he's still got this big fan base for whatever reason.
It's just mystery. It's just the mystery of it and the fact that it's an unfulfilled. It's the same as, like, Tremor before Tremor was an X.
For some reason, Chameleon is Ketchup's second favorite Mortal Kombat character.
Was he particularly broken in Armageddon? Maybe it's a gameplay thing.
He actually just put a video out about those two.
There's a video about, like,
I didn't watch it.
Competitive histories of these characters, and I'm like, there's competitive history for Trilogy and Armageddon? This is news to me.
Dude, he made one on MK1, and it's fucking nuts.
The MK1 competitive history is Sonya is broken. That's all I know.
That sounds about what I remember. Yeah.
His MK1 video, or his MK meta videos are really good. I recommend them.
I mean, there was certainly a competitive history of any of the games that were in the arcade, and also Deception, because it was the first one to have online. Not that it was, like, a good competitive game at all. Like, I don't know how that's even playable, but...
competitive in a tournament setting.
Yeah, because what I remember about
like,
Deception...
from, like, Venezuela or, like, Brazil or some shit to weigh in on what, like, competitive MK1 tournament, like, meta strats were. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, but, like, Trilogy never had an arcade release. I don't know what tournaments they were bringing that disc to. and the thing I remember about Deception is that it had a lot of infinites.
Oh, that game was broken to shit. Bull Raicho could just puke, sidestep, and he could just trap them there for the entire round.
And I'm sure that Armageddon was no better in that regard.
I've never looked at Armageddon's competitive history, but I know just from playing that game it was broken.
You could take your fucking created character online, couldn't you?
Yes, you could.
Yeah, that definitely is not like a no, not even close.
Okay, so to get back to it, I guess I probably would have had Chameleon as a bonus skin for some, like, all the ninjas. I don't know.
You do it like Meat, where he's like every character has a chameleon skin.
Yeah, pretty well. Noob's Cybot, I think, might have also sat a forthcoming game out. Because I really wanted to see Sub-Zero working to rehabilitate Noob and Smoke. And I think that I would actually, in this case, might have had Noob Cybot be the linchpin for Smoke being a character that maybe, I don't know, like, searches for a way to rehabilitate Noob to maybe get him back to the way he used to be, a way to restore him to life. Not to say that this is what should happen to Noob, but this would be a way for Smoke and Sub-Zero to actually have some sort of working relationship again. Because it had never been done, and for fuck's sake, like, if there's anything I've always wanted for Smoke at that point in time would be to find a cure for both himself and, I guess by extension, Noob Saibot, to, like, purge the Netherrealm taint. So I would have expanded on Smoke's soul still being kind of intact, the way that Ashura's Deception ending showed us. And I would have had him be a good guy again at this point.
Alright. Some of your ideas overlap in places with mine, so I will definitely get to those when it's my turn.
Okay. I've always also maintained that Cyrax and Sektor are the arch enemies that have never really had the chance to be. There's never really been that kind of reckoning between them.
Yeah, I would say that although they started out on the same side as enemies of Sub-Zero, from like MK Gold on, they're kind of each other's potential rival, and they never did fulfill that, yeah.
It would be nice to see, like, Sub, Smoke, and Cyrax just all fight Sektor on his Tekunin ship.
At this point in time, I might have actually had Sektor be a sub-boss. I would have had Cyrax as maybe like a sleeper agent for the Lin Kuei and Special Forces, a contact between the two of them, working to, like, take Sektor down, because he'd overtaken Japan entirely at that point. So I would have maybe had, like, Sektor as a major threat in this game, or maybe an expansion, I don't know. But Cyrax would have definitely been another, like, a guy on a mission again, but having a bit more of a personal vendetta.
Can I say how much I love the fact that Sektor conquers Japan? That is such a fucking Ultron thing to do.
Well, you know, it's interesting because the ending sort of goes like, oh, he set up a secret base in Japan and is slowly, like, becoming a threat to that nation, and then at the end of it, this is his Deadly Alliance Game Boy ending. It says, soon all of Japan will be controlled by the Tekunin. So it's more like a going to happen. So I wonder, is it canon that he succeeds in taking Japan before Armageddon, or is it like it's still happening? Like,
if I'm remembering right, in Armageddon, Sektor is viewed by the Special Forces as a major threat to the realms.
Yeah, there's a weird thing they say in Armageddon that wasn't really set up or explained, where instead of the Outer World Investigation Agency, Sonya is now working for an international Earthrealm Special Forces. And there's some treaty called the Earthrealm Accords that probably involves, like, working with enemies in other realms. And the Tekunin are, like, their major, like, enemies who have violated this treaty. And it's supposed to connect to the fact that, like, a lot of characters in Armageddon are secretly working for Shinnok. Like, when Sektor kidnaps Taven, the password for his computer is Shinnok's name backwards with a 5 instead of an S.
Oh my fucking god, are you shitting me?
Yeah.
No, seriously, look it up. It's Like he's like enter code like K0
and 1H5 or something like that. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's like Shinnok's name backwards in Leet speak is this password to Sektor's fucking computer.
Like that's what Shinnok was basically doing all throughout Armageddon. He was contacting basically every force of evil he could muster to get them to ally to take down the forces of light. So that's why Sektor has that. That's his agenda at that point in time.
Yeah. So the idea is like I don't think Sonya knows that it's Shinnok Sektor is working for, but she knows Sektor is like working with some villains from another realm, and so the Earth Realm Special Forces are after him. And also, he's built a fucking helicarrier, like he's Evil Shield.
It's
great. I actually think that little tidbit of information kind of goes hand in hand with him being considered a major threat to the realms.
I mean, what is the population of Japan? How many robots could Sektor theoretically have at his disposal? How big should this threat be?
Let me check. Japan population 2007.
I can't remember what country it was that Ultron...
128 million.
That's a lot of robots.
That's a lot of robots.
I can't remember what country it was, but there is a comic where Ultron completely slaughters an entire country and stands above the bodies.
Was it one of those made-up Middle Eastern countries that comic books love to do?
Warehouse Bomia. That's where Jason Todd died.
Maybe, but it just reminds me of that sort of image of Ultron.
Yeah, there's my instinct as a writer would be to say he hasn't finished conquering Japan yet. That's maybe a little more realistic.
Stryker, I think I would have given him another vacation. It was nice to see him, but that latex bodysuit didn't do him any favors.
The X-Men uniform, the Bryan Singer collection.
And the balaclava one didn't do any favors either.
No, like I could see what they were going for because the vest and the shoulder pads are kind of in the shape of his MK3 t-shirt. But, I mean, you put a balaclava on a guy and he's just a ninja now. He's just a ninja. I don't know that Stryker works as a ninja.
If you don't know what to do with them, you make them a ninja. That's easy popularity points.
Then he's just samurai cop.
Just ask Jackie and Alright. Kabal. This is a big one.
Yeah.
This is one I think needs to be explored further because at this point in time, there needed to be an answer of why did this guy that maybe might have been looking towards an entirely new life, to turn over a new leaf, suddenly turn bad and reform the Black Dragon clan? And I've always felt that the implication there was that maybe Havok made him do it.
Yeah, I always the vibe I always got was Havok brainwashed him. Like, not literally with magic, like, not hypnosis, but, like, Havok is really good at, like, he's like a cult leader. He can find people who are, like, maybe in need of a sense of belonging. There's, they're an outcast and they're unhappy and, there's a hole in their life. He's a kind of person who can come in with the charisma and convince you to drink the fucking Kool-Aid.
Yeah. So at this point, I think that what I would have done is had Kabal being really pissed off that he got used. And I would have followed up on his MK Deception plotline where the MK Deception plotlines where he kind of has Kira and Cobra fight to see who's the better one to, be a second in command. Yeah. I think I would have chosen Cobra.
Really? You'd have Cobra beat Kira in a fight?
I think I absolutely would have. I mean, she's the better character, she's the smarter one, but I think that Cobra might have taken it out of just sheer brutality. And I think I would have had him sick Cobra on Havok like a wild dog. Pretty much.
There's this there's this vibe on the internet, like on Twitter when I talk to people about Cobra, where they all envision him as like this vicious, like drooling mad dog psycho, and that's not the vibe I ever got from Cobra at all. Like, all I see is like a Johnny Lawrence who's gone to a too far extreme. Like, I almost kind of like see him as like sad and sympathetic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we could. That's something that like could be explored, but that's probably not why Kabal keeps him around. He probably see him as his attack dog.
I always got the impression that Kabal like kept him around because so when Kabal first meets Cobra, he helps him escape from being arrested by the cops in New York City. I always thought that maybe like it had something to do with Stryker. Like, Kabal and Stryker used to be, like, friends during that between MK3 and Deception period where Kabal was a vigilante. Maybe he kept in touch with Stryker. Stryker was his Commissioner Gordon or something. And so, like, now that Kabal has kind of gone bad again, he's taking this gesture to, like, break off that friendship and, like, betray his cop buddy by, like, breaking out this serial killer. And so it's not so much about Cobra as it is about the symbolism of it. Sort of like how Shang Tsung invited Kano to the first tournament, but he didn't give a fuck about Kano, and Kano's maybe not even a worthy fighter. He only wanted Sonya to be there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I always envision that scene where he frees Cobra as kind of like this sort of vicious horror movie scene where like Cobra's in the cop car. And then, like, they're hauling him away, and then Kabal, like, just keeps striking like the Flash with his hook swords, and the cops can't see what the fuck is even.
When I picture it, it's almost like the way Batman will come out of the shadows as like the old urban legend, like spooky Batman would sort of appear and disappear like a ninja when he's attacking muggers in the alley, except it's a bad guy doing it to cops.
Yeah, exactly. And then like Stryker would like maybe hear like the dispatch like call for help on his police dispatcher or some shit.
Yeah. I don't know. I always felt like Cobra's like actually a loser. And Kabal
he kills because it's the thing he's good at, and Kabal uses him for
Yeah, I think Kabal is more like I think Kabal expects Kira to win that fight. Like, I don't think he ever really considered Cobra a serious contender for the gang. He was just, like, using the resources he had at the time. Because the whole idea is, like, he's building a new Black Dragon from scratch. He has no minions. Everybody who ever worked for Kano has been shut down by the Special Forces since MK4. Like, Jarek was the last Black Dragon, remember? So the gang that Kabal is starting is completely new from scratch, and these are the only two people he has. And then all of a sudden in Armageddon he had minions, which is weird, but I guess he's had 6 months or so.
So moving on, Dairu and Darius. Nope, dead. They died in the battle.
Damn.
That's fine. That's fine. I'd do the same thing.
There are better representatives for Orderrealm and Chaos Realm. And Dairu was just a guy who was paid to do stuff. Nobody liked his design. They can't all be zingers. Let's move on.
I think there's a future episode that the patrons will probably vote on us to do, where me and Smokeman will discuss how we would fix and redesign 3D era characters. And we definitely have ideas for Dairu. But
that shit's already out in the open.
Yeah, I mean, that design is on Twitter. You can see the fan art Smokeman commissioned.
And like the moveset's already on my outline too.
But I think people would like to hear us talk about our ideas, and also there's other characters, certainly.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Like, don't get me wrong, like, at the time, I was actually hoping that one day they would revive Dairu more in line with like that kind of Ronin aesthetic, having like the huge hat and like 2 swords or whatever. I think there was some concept art to that effect.
In Deadly Alliance, he was originally going to be in the game guarding Shang's palace, and he would be the guy Kenshi fought instead of Movado.
And we took inspiration from that interpretation.
I think that most people have always seen the potential.
I mean, all that said, like, what I would do with Dairu to fix him would mostly exist within the context of a remake of Deadly Alliance and Deception. Mm-hmm. After Armageddon, I'd probably leave him dead, too, because for one thing, you have to have some casualties at this fucking giant pyramid battle.
You do.
For another, I'm not sure that a guy whose whole gimmick is paid mercenary has a future.
Mm-mm.
That's kind of the very definition of a casualty.
Yeah.
I
mean, Kano's around, I guess.
Kano has this whole elaborate rivalry with Sonya that they keep allows them to keep bringing him back, even if he's gotten boring and stale.
I am actually about to get to Kano right now.
Well,
and that's because I would have passed the torch at this point, and I would have had Kano been a casualty at the Battle of Armageddon at Jarek's hand.
Really? Jarek is a keeper?
Damn! Damn!
Yes, I would have.
This is a bold choice. I want to hear this one.
He's the key to all this.
Because I appreciated the fact that they tried to fix what was wrong with Jarek in Armageddon.
I don't know that that's what... I don't know that that's what they were going for.
I don't know if they were totally successful.
Jarek?
Sure, you see it as...
The fixes are so confusing. Like, he's wearing medieval armor. So I always... I thought his backstory would be about how he went on some kind of quest to get good. And that it took him to Outworld and he learned magic or something. But no, his backstory is about how after the MK4 ending came true where he fell off the cliff, he survived the fall... And now he's so insane with rage that he's on a quest to learn other people's fatalities and kill them with their own moves. Not Jax, the guy who threw him off the cliff, but everybody. It's clearly like a joke bio and ending, and I don't understand how any of it connects to, his primary costume's just like some medieval leather, he looks like a D&D character. And then his alternate costume has this... It's from a Chinese wuxia film, and he's got shoulder pads that look like New Year's parade dragons.
But it's also it has the color scheme of MK4.
Yeah, it's brown with green pants, so you could still recognize it as Jarek and shit. But I don't understand why he looks like a New Year's parade float. And I don't understand, I thought it would have something to do with the fact that they gave him Dragon Kung Fu as a fighting style and there'd be a story behind it, but there's nothing. It just doesn't make sense.
Well,
if you really think about it, the whole learning everyone's fatalities, isn't that just the creative fatality mechanic?
Yeah.
That's just the story.
Yeah, hang on. This is one of those instances where I actually would have taken things word for word. I would have maybe softened that up in a forthcoming bio where, let's say, maybe he found purpose in trying to be maybe kind of an ultimate warrior, not necessarily learning killing moves blow for blow, but maybe trying to master the best in killing techniques, Not going so specific that he wants to rip off Sub-Zero's hands.
They use the word fatalities. It's like when Nightwolf says animality in the fucking movie.
Remember, Armageddon was the era of things written onto napkins in restaurants. So, like I'm saying, at this point, I think that going past Armageddon, the Black Dragon and the Red Dragon needed to die. They were a concept that kind of came full circle. The Red Dragon are utterly destroyed by Karo.
That's true. The dragon does, burn down the whole base.
At this point, Kano was turned into, some sort of really dipshit human dragon half-hybrid, according to Conquest.
I would love for him to have a costume of it. I wish they could remake Armageddon and, give everybody original skins and make half-dragon Kano.
See, that's coming dangerously close to MK11 Shao Kahn territory now. I don't know.
Yeah, but with Kano, it would be funny.
Yeah, Like, I'm not saying, like, I want to take it seriously. I'm saying I want to see what it would look like.
But in any case, I might maybe have Jarek run afoul of Kabal, Cobra, or maybe Kira, whoever the hell else is around, and maybe have him also decide that it's time to do away with the past, kind of be that voice for a lot of the fan base that's kind of tired of the whole G.I. Joe aspect of things. Maybe I'd have him kind of be the rival for Kabal that comes out of nowhere, that tries to snipe him while he's trying to snipe Havok. Because I felt that attempt at a redesign, however you want to look at it, was worthy enough of further investigation.
I just wish that if they were going to give him this, like, D&D fantasy outfit, that they'd given him a story that explored, like, him becoming a character who gives a shit about the magic side of the universe, as opposed to his clothes not having anything to do with anything.
I have opinions on Jarek. I honestly think that if you, even just a little bit, trying to make him cool just exemplifies his lameness.
I do think there's a certain element to Jarek. Like, I agree that he's kind of like, he's try-hard, and so the more cool you try to make him, the more he's just Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Really like I almost feel like you should embrace the cringe when you're trying to remake Jarek.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate because he's actually, apart from Kabal, he's the one that seems to have a head on his shoulders. That, like, you know, in MK4 he was working for the preservation of Earthrealm, and, you know,
yeah, he does
on the good guy's side.
That's always been the difference between him and Kano. Like, they fight the same, but story-wise, when Earth was invaded, Kano joined the bad guys, and in Jarek's game, when Earth is invaded, Jarek makes a truce with the good guys and fights on their side until it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that's all I'm saying is I see potential there. There's places you could bring him, and I think that he deserved a chance, at least at that point, to just break the mold of the dumb Kano ripoff that he was in 97.
I've always, like, my problem with trying to, like, imagine a better Jarek has always been, what moves do you give him? Like, what the hell could his theme be? Like, what could he possibly do that's original? Because Armageddon tried a thing. Armageddon tried a thing where they gave him a lasso. So I started thinking maybe his deal is that he's from the South and he's kind of the cowboyish criminal. And then they invented Aaron Black. So that won't work.
You know what, though? I did like the kind of, like, axe cleaver that they gave him. The lasso is fucking weird, but, you know, they've given so many characters axes, and it very seldom seems to... It didn't work with, like, Scorpion. It doesn't work with Sub-Zero, to my view. I don't even like it when Ermac has them.
Yeah, the Ermac and Reptile with axes...
It's not right.
Because Reptile had a big medieval battle axe in 4.
Yeah.
I can see Scorpion having an axe just because he's from Hell, but I can't see Steve having axes.
I've never thought of, like, that little hatchet thing he has in Ultimate as an axe. To me, it just kind of looks like a very weird spear thing. Like when they brought it back in Deception, they made it a different kind of spearhead.
It looks good in Deception, but I feel like that's like a kind of attempt to clarify what that was. Like, initially in Ultimate, when he and Smokeman was getting, like, it just looked like a hand axe.
Yeah, it was just like a very tiny, like, two-sided hatchet. I always thought it was, like, superfluous and dumb, so the reimagining it in Deception is preferable to me.
Yeah, but even then, like, you can imagine that as the spear. But I don't... Why the fuck did they give sub-axes, man? That's not a fucking ninja weapon. This fucking big-ass barbarian axe.
He had this wide array of weapons in X. Like, he could make a hammer or daggers, sword.
I'm never going to be mad at a hammer. An ice hammer's tight. I don't even care if it's a ninja weapon. Axes are just fucking boring.
Yeah, it's just, it feels to me like to go from the idea of Sub-Zero as a guy who can make any weapon on the fly to having him make the same weapon over and over is a step backward.
Anything, I feel like signature should be the Corey blade. I always liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I feel like there's something about Jarek and axes that actually really works. So moving on. Darius, dead in the fight. Reiko was starting to show some real promise in Armageddon 2. That's one of the things I liked about the game a lot. Like, it tried to give a few characters that didn't have all that much to do in games prior a bit of prevalence. At this point, I think I might have actually set up Reiko as the ruler and outworld he wanted to be. He might actually, at this point, be running around with Khan's helmet on.
I have a similar thought for Reiko, so I'm definitely with you.
He might actually be trying to kind of possibly broker a truce at this point. Maybe being subconsciously influenced by the Reiko chords, but again, he almost struck me as a guy that had more of a head on his shoulders.
Yeah.
He was happy having the power he had, as opposed to going out and trying to get more of it. So I really enjoyed the MKX comics take of him as a strategist and a general.
Well, I mean, if you look at Reiko in terms of, like, scenes where he has dialogue, there's only one in the entire franchise, and it's in Armageddon. And in that singular scene, he is like, calm and intelligent and strategic. Like, he doesn't laugh, he doesn't cackle like a madman, he doesn't scream and get angry. Even when he loses a fight against Taven, he's just like, alright, well, if I have to lose, at least it means that you'll go in the next room and kill Quan Chi. I wouldn't mind seeing him die, that's fine.
His line, it was like, you managed to kill my best guys. Want to work for us?
Yeah.
You're a good asset.
Reiko is, to the Mortal Kombat universe, what Grand Admiral Thrawn is in Star Wars.
Yes, exactly.
And that's always been like to have such a small scene, give a character such a persona that's unique in the whole MK universe. That's a rare gift, I would say. And I think Reiko's, like, potential, like, is so activated by that one moment, and you need more of that in the MK universe. And the fact that Reiko has been saddled with sitting out as often as Jarek and Kai do, when he's clearly a way better character than most from MK4, it's not really fair.
Fujin. Now this is where the Dark Raiden angle comes into play. Because I always wanted to see him live up to that role of being the successor. So I think that at this point he would have allied with the likes of, like, hopefully a reformed Liu Kang by now. Probably Nightwolf 2. Whatever's left of the good guys at this point in time, because I feel like after the Battle of Armageddon, the good guys probably took a couple of hits.
I mean, you have to have lost some people.
Yes, Dark Raiden would still be an active threat, and I think I would have had Fujin as kind of the round table leader in trying to take him down and bring him to justice for his crimes on behalf of the Elder Gods.
I mean, I would say that you and everybody else in the fandom who has been around since 4 and isn't, like, new to the franchise with 9 or something like that. Everybody who's been around for a long time has been waiting for the Fujin who actually gets to be the protector of Earthrealm.
Exactly.
It's gotten to the point where even streamers like Flo and shit are like, oh shit, that's Fujin! Oh fuck! Like, the character's more popular than NRS lets on. And
yeah,
for the Dark Raiden storyline, there's really no... If Fujin does not beat Dark Raiden, then the storyline is bad. There's no one else that can do it. There's no one else that deserves it. There's no one else that, in a structured way of telling a story, like, there's no way that anyone else could do it but Fujin. It just makes fucking sense.
I'm not necessarily going to include this in my pitch, like I'm on the fence about it, but I can imagine a scenario where Liu Kang actually is not around, like the zombie was just taken down in Armageddon and Liu has been in heaven, wherein Liu gets to come back at the end of the Dark Raiden saga and be the one who stops him. Because of all the bad things Dark Raiden has done so far, and you can certainly add more in these post-Armageddon games, more like villainous things for him to do, but to date, the worst thing he's done, he did to Liu Kang's body by making him a zombie.
Yeah.
So, in a way, he kind of is owed comeuppance for that. But if you're not going to do Liu Kang as the one to beat him, Fujin is definitely a contender. Because I think the key to doing it with Liu Kang is you have to have Liu Kang sit out a while first. Otherwise, it just becomes yet another game where Liu Kang wins.
No, Liu Kang at this point, in this kind of post-Armageddon game we're envisioning, I think has to take a back seat to things. I think at this point in time, well, this actually goes into where the next character, but I think that Bo' Rai Cho dies during the pyramid fight. So Liu Kang kind of refocuses his efforts to kind of takes an active step back away from the world of Mortal Kombat, maybe relinquishes his title as champion, if he's still got that, having been killed. And
yeah, I think maybe dying
I think
vacates the spot.
Probably. I'd like to think that they were successful in reuniting his body and soul, but he's at this point in time, he's ready to step back and let the next generation take up things and maybe be the formal head of the Wuxi Temple. I think that Liu Kang's days as like active fighter and champion are over, and I think that at this point, he'd want to spend a little bit of time with Katana 2 on the side.
It would certainly be nice for those two to actually have a happy ending.
Yeah.
Because they kind of got one in 11, and then Aftermath stole it.
So Bo' Rai Cho, dead.
Fair enough.
Big old statue in the Wuxi Academy for him. Mavado, dead.
No arguments here.
Suhao, dead. Dagon, dead. I think all the Red Dragon, well, the 3 playable characters that represent the Red Dragon die in the fight. And like we know, Kero decimated the entire mountain. They're finished. They're done. Hotaru, I think I might have survive, but to keep Orderrealm as a focus for a future game. Because I feel like he's too good of a character to waste, but it's hard to tell a game. It's hard to tell a story that rotates around Orderrealm and not have it be the centerpiece of things.
I find...
I think I'd save him for the future and maybe have him be a private backer to Sektor. Because in a perverted way, he might see that Sektor's notion of order through assimilation makes a horrible kind of sense.
That's not a terrible idea. Because I find the problem with Hotaru is that similar to Baraka before 11, or Goro in a world where Kintaro and Shiva don't really get play. His problem is that he's not a unique person, he's a representative of an army of clones.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could have a story about Orderrealm and still not necessarily need Hotaru, because you could just kill him off, replace him with a completely identical guardsman, and have other characters represent Orderrealm. He doesn't, that by clone I mean not literally, but they're all the same. They all have the same uniform, especially his alt costume with the helmet. They all have the same personality. There's nothing unique about Hotaru compared to the rest of the Seiden guardsmen.
I mean, unless we're counting the lava fire thing, the powers.
We don't know what that is.
I mean,
we know that his name is
there's
Japanese for
explanation.
Firefly, so they gave him fire and flying.
I tend to think that those moves of his are pretty much part and parcel for all the Satan Guard. He just has a pretty good measure of control over them.
I wouldn't give the Satan Guard all lava powers. I think you could say that's genetic engineering.
I mean,
I can see Orderrealm as being big on eugenics.
yeah, there's definitely like and this goes into like the redesign Smokeman and I did for Dairu. We see Orderrealm as a cyberpunk dystopia, like reimagining it where the parts we saw in Deception, Shujinko running around on the floating island with all the pretty grass and trees and pyramids, that's like Elysium, you know, the Matt Damon movie, where all the rich people live up on the floating thing, and then on the underside is like the traditional cyberpunk, like the streets with the neon lights and all the grime and corruption and like very fascist.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've added like more technological elements to the suits of armor and things like that. So I could definitely see there being like a genetic engineering program to like give powers to their soldiers, being like totally fitting in as an explanation for where Hotaru got the fucking lava from. But I don't know that makes Hotaru unique as a person. Like, I'm just saying, like, you could totally kill him off and have other Sidons and still have Orderrealm be in the story.
Yeah, that's
He's not unique the way Havok is unique.
He's representative of a good concept.
Yeah. And that's really the problem with Hotaru, and certainly you could fix that problem by fleshing him out and introducing other guardsmen and showing how they're different from him. But you could just as easily say, fuck him. I think Orderrealm is cool. I don't think Hotaru is necessary.
Fair. Very fair.
But the idea of him being like the secret Sektor backer is actually kind of a cool idea. I think that would be unique. Because Hotaru's one thing that separates him from other Satans is that he's like a Knight Templar on the Crusades. Like, he goes to other realms outside of Sado and tries to spread Satan beliefs. And, like, basically come in and take over their shit.
He would welcome Sektor into Orderrealm with open arms, and it would go terribly, but exactly the way both of them wanted it to go. So moving on, Nightwolf. I think I'd have him still active. I don't think I'd have killed him. But, you know, it's tough. He's always been kind of that spiritual advisor archetype, and I'm not sure what there would be to do at this point.
You know what? You could kill Nightwolf off and still have him show up as a ghost to be, like, somebody else's spirit guide, because he's so, like, powerful with the spirit world. Like, maybe he becomes an Obi-Wan Kenobi archetype.
I could see him as a mentor figure for someone else, which we'll bring up soon. Okay, Johnny Cage. Crippled. Not dead, because at that point it had happened so many times it was a running joke.
Yeah.
But I feel like at this point also his time was done.
So paralyzed legs, wheelchair crippled, that kind of crippled?
Yeah, pretty well. Like, kind of broken, maybe advising from long distance, keeping people in contact, kind of like an Oracle role, perhaps, but also still in Hollywood and, you know, making movies about the tragedy of the downfall of Johnny Cage. Executive producer, Mocap. Kano, dead.
Right, we got that.
Jax. Tekunin drone. Plot device. We know at the end of Armageddon, he lost his life signals. His brain readings were abnormal. Something happened. He's either been converted or...
Yeah, there is a story thread in Armageddon where Jax goes missing, and you find out that it's because Sektor kidnapped him and was, like, trying to tap into the technology that connects his robot arms to his brain. Like he's got one of those Alfred Molina Doc Ock chips in the back of his head.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd be kind of stranded with no way to get back because Sonya, dead. I'd have killed her in the fight too. And this is one of the reasons I think that Johnny Cage wouldn't be actively out there fighting, because he'd be inside kind of a broken man. So would Liu Kang too, for, you know, not as great of an extent, but it would be another reason for him to want to step back away from the fighting because he lost someone he cares about deeply. Sonya would be in heaven. We'd see she'd be fine and well, but, you know, at this point, I feel like her and Kano had their character arcs over and done with, and it was time to move on from the whole Special Forces Black Dragon concept in a nutshell. So I wouldn't kill Sonya because I dislike her, but I just felt that her time was done.
So I'm definitely with you on retiring Johnny and Sonya. In my own version, it's less of a tragic one's dead and the other's crippled thing, and it's more like they both like just got old and retired. And like, so the thing is, before the new timeline, like in MK1 through Armageddon, they never actually pulled the trigger on the Johnny-Sonya romance. So in my version, they actually do hook up after Armageddon. And they're just like I'll go into it more, like the reasons why they're both off the roster NPCs when we get to my turn. But yeah, I did something similar but less of a downer to take them both off the board.
I know that this sounds bad, and you can really accuse me of sounding like I'm doing the whole women in refrigerators thing, but this is the thing. I don't feel like Sonya's ever going to step off the battlefield until she is no longer capable or she dies during it.
So my thinking is, like, again, you said one of the reasons that you would kill her off is you'd felt her potential would be over when her rivalry with Kano is over. And like I said, they hadn't pulled the trigger on her and Johnny as a couple yet, so I see that as her potential that yet remains.
That's fair.
But in terms of like why she would stop fighting, I'm just taking it like the impulsiveness and the drive to fight that defines the Bridget Wilson Sonya we all think of. That's like an impulsiveness of youth thing, and it's also like she can afford to do that because she's only a lieutenant. If she was older and higher in rank, eventually she would A, mature, and B, be placed in a desk job, and be the one giving orders to other members of the Special Forces like Cyrax and Kenshi.
I feel like she'd chafe it.
I would imagine after something like the pyramid fight, she would take maybe a step back.
Yeah, I mean, because you have to like keep in mind that if we're killing off a whole bunch of characters at the pyramid, these guys can be mentally scarred without like losing their direct loved ones. They've lost other friends, and that's enough to be like
fuck, man.
Like psychologically wounded without being completely broken is enough for me to put someone in a desk job, I think.
Okay, so we can maybe have Johnny, I don't know, go missing during the fight. Maybe he's wandering Chaos Realm as an amnesiac or something. And that gets her to step down.
I think in terms of the idea that Sonya can't possibly give up fighting, I would maybe, like, if I was doing games after Armageddon, I'd do, like, a full trilogy, and I'd maybe let her come back in the second or third.
I mean, hypothetically, this is under the impression that Jax is a plot device for Sektor, right?
Yeah, like, Jax, in that scenario, would be missing and presumed dead, or known to be, like, just lost, like a gone shell, like what Cyber Smoke has been between 3 and Deception.
Pretty well.
So that's definitely a huge downer for someone like Sonya. That might be tragedy enough.
True. Kai. Yes, you're a fucking main character this time through. Like, seriously, there's no reason for you to not be one, you know?
I would definitely like to live in a world where Kai got to be, you know, he's Liu Kang's student.
I see him as someone who's actually at this point traveled the world. You know, he's done the thing. He's got Raiden's staff.
I would like one of the things that needs to happen in order to like tell a good story after Armageddon is to retcon a couple things, like Kai giving the stick back.
I could actually see him working in tandem with Fujin to find ways to bring Raiden around for what he's done. I think he'd be a major player.
I would assume so too. I think it'd be natural for him to sort of be Fujin's chosen one, I guess.
It's certainly either him or Kung Lao, and Kung Lao has kind of had his turn and didn't live up to it.
He's Kung Lao.
I have plans for Kung Lao. We'll get there.
Okay.
Kenshi, either off the board, just not present, or dead. The Red Dragon are dead. To his knowledge, Shang Tsung might be dead. He doesn't really have any more reason to stick around. We know he has no particular loyalty to the Special Forces. So he can fuck off.
That's another one of those little retcons, like let Kai keep the stick. I would maybe let Kenshi, like in Armageddon, Kenshi quit the Special Forces because he was only using them to get to Outworld and fight Shang, and that was over now. I don't know that was a good idea. Like, I mean, part of this opinion is colored by MKX showing us an older Kenshi who is like past his vendettas and is just a nice guy who works with Sonya and Jax. I'm okay with that Kenshi. I think that's fine. But I could definitely see somebody going, well, he's kind of, his story has been told and is complete.
For the time being. Like, I don't want to kill everyone, but I just don't think that he has much to do at the moment.
That's fair. I have my own ideas, but I will admit that my idea I didn't really have until after, like, the NRS era games. I just had a vague sense in 2008 that I wanted more Kenshi, and I didn't know what to do with him, and I was kind of sitting on it. So, like, if I was giving you the NRS era never happened version of my story, I wouldn't have a good idea for Kenshi. So I'm going to kind of give you both when we get to my turn.
Shujinko might not have actually even made it to the pyramid battle. Might have tried to go take on Shao Kahn and found it was a bit too much for him to chew.
You know, I do wonder where the hell he disappeared to, because Taven kind of went straight from the dungeon to the throne room. Shouldn't they have been going the same direction?
In any case, maybe he got lost, but if he got to the pyramid battle, I don't think he survived either. Again, not because I dislike him, but you've got to take some hits.
There is a question of, like, what can you even do with Shujinko after Deception? Like, his story was so connected to that one event that once it's over, he's like a one-and-done character, and that's the unfortunate thing about creating a player avatar for, like... You know, the concept of Deception was that he was kind of your self-insert, and you started as a kid, and you became an old man, and you went on his life journey with him. Once you get to the end of that journey, what's next? He's kind of done. Like, just go to bed, old man.
I will say, I think your idea for Shujinko in your little...
Yeah, we'll get to that. I do have a specific idea for how Shujinko dies at the pyramid.
It's the funniest shit ever.
We'll get to that.
I kind of think that in order to give him a fitting ending, we know that, like, Shao Kahn kind of got grabbed by Onaga and carried off.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that Shujinko followed them, but only Shao Kahn made it back.
Yeah, see, the idea I have, which we will get to in the future, Smokeman finds it funny. I wrote that idea with the idea that you can find it funny if you want to, or you can find it, like, fitting because he kind of takes out some major bad guys with him. Mm-hmm. So it's like simultaneously a big fuck up and a big hero moment. And we'll get to that. But continue.
Okay, like I said, Suhao dead, Cobra actively working as an attack dog, Chameleon, not much reason to be around unless Reptile is too. Might not have survived the fight. Taven. In my ideal world, Taven would have won the Armageddon battle. He would have thus proven that he had what it took to succeed his father as God, protector god of Edenia, and he would be in that place as, like, you know.
I mean, one of the things that I think you have to automatically use as canon if you're making a sequel to Armageddon is that Taven is the one to beat Blaze.
Correct.
Because Conquest Mode did not end with an open, like, there's a boss fight at the end of Conquest Mode. You canonically do fight Blaze with Taven. If Conquest is your story mode, the last fight in story mode doesn't get to be retconned out by the next game. You're stuck with that. It happened. Because, you know, like, Deception Conquest is open-ended. Fucking Shujinko finds out Damashi was Onaga all along. Onaga takes the Kamidogus and goes off to enact the opening cutscene. And that's the end of Conquest Mode for Shujinko. The end of Conquest Mode for Taven is, no, you fight the boss and win. So, like, the idea that Shao Kahn did it at the beginning of 9 is fucking bullshit. That's not what happened in the game.
Razor. Can't hurt you anymore.
I know. This is why I've always said, like, you go back to 2011, I've always said Armageddon is a separate timeline from the Armageddon we see at the beginning of 9. Those aren't the same Armageddons. And everybody was like, no, their intention was just one timeline, and maybe it was then, but now that Kronika exists, it's clearly 2 Armageddons. There's one where Taven won, and then Kronika did her hourglass shit, and then there's one where Shao Kahn won. But anyway.
Next up, Kung Lao. I'd like to think for a change of pace, he actually did survive the events. But he has other shit in his mind right now. He's decided to maybe let Kai and Fujin handle things with Raiden. Because Goro has shit to answer for. So I think that Kung Lao is kind of a man on a mission to the depths of Outworld.
If you're going to keep the bastardization of Goro from Deception, Kung Lao going at him for it does make sense.
Yeah.
Because those two, you know, that they had, like, their little, like, make peace honor moment, like, you and I shook hands, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would paint it so that Goro realizes that he made a very poor choice. And that he knew he made that choice ever since he got stuck with fucking guard duty during Armageddon. So I would put Goro as, like, possibly, and I know you don't agree with Kintaro being alive, but I would have Goro's authority as a Shokan leader being seriously challenged by Kintaro.
Well, the thing is, even if I didn't want Kintaro to be canonically alive between MK2 and then, everybody came back in Armageddon, so Kintaro can totally be alive now.
So there. around that time, we did get that bio card that said he was part of a species of Shokan known for their ferocity. So I could see there being kind of a Shokan Civil War in progress that Kung Lao kind of wanders into the middle of, looking for retribution, but maybe winding up mending wounds and kind of being forced to ally with someone who he thinks has betrayed him, who maybe did and made the wrong choice. Shang Tsung. Okay. This is tough.
Yeah, like, when you get to the major bosses, it's like, this guy's been around a lot, but he's so iconic. Had he had his due yet? Is there anything left for him?
Thing is, I wouldn't have wanted Khan to survive. And if Khan didn't survive, we know Tsung's life force is tied to Shao Kahn. If Khan dies, so does Shang Tsung.
That's true.
So I hate to say it, but I don't think that there's room for him right now, and I think they both would have died.
You know, I can think of a loophole for that. I don't necessarily use Shang in my pitch, so I can just throw this out there. You could have Shang... So, anytime Shang dies, his soul goes to Khan. At which point, Khan presumably puts him in another body if he wants to, or he can just, keep the fucking soul, like he does with all the other souls he steals. If Shang dies first, and then Khan dies, Shang's soul is set free, and he can just be a ghost.
What I do want to do is work the machinations of the one being into this somehow, and I kind of feel like Shang Tsung might be the perfect linchpin for it. That he investigates, like, the cause behind Armageddon, because he's an analytical guy. He'd have done his homework. He's the kind of guy that's always doing research.
These sorcerer characters tend to have these whole libraries of magic books and things. They like their ancient lore. This is where they get more power from.
So maybe if he or Quan Chi, one or the other, if they survive the Battle of Armageddon somehow, because either one of them could just as easily beat feet, assuming we use that loophole maybe for Shao Kahn and he's a ghost or whatever. I don't know. But I would like them to, like, maybe open Pandora's box inadvertently to find out what the cause of Armageddon... Well, to find out what Armageddon really is supposed to prevent. And when they find that answer, it is just too much for them. Like, they wind up being a vessel for the one being, actively. More so than Onaga was, because Onaga was just subconsciously...
Yeah, I think, like, that's always been sort of the thing, is, like, almost every villain is secretly, like, the one being is working through them. Like, it's not like he hasn't, like, actively taken control of them. It's just that everybody in the universe is characters in a dream, and the person having the dream wants to wake up, so things sort of lean that direction, plot-wise. Whether they mean to or not. But yeah, like, at some point, you do have to figure out a way to turn the one being into a viable boss character without, like, violating the lore that if he wakes up, everybody ceases to exist. You have to find some way around that.
Lucid dreaming?
Basically.
Another thing I've always wanted was to have the Great Kung Lao appear as kind of a boss. And I kind of feel that maybe if the one being were to manifest through Shang Tsung, he'd have the ability to look into people's hearts and see something that's universally respected, universally known, and use that against them. So I think the one being using Shang as a vessel would be a way to bring that about.
You think he'd, like, morph into Great Kung Lao and pretend to be, like, on everybody's side?
So he'd like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
I don't know about 50 feet tall, but I could see the one being using Shang's particular skill set as a way to really put fear into the hearts of everyone, you know. Anyway, assuming this all happened, maybe Shang saw Shao Kahn dying on the battlefield and decided to save his soul and put it in a jar and never really opened it again. Who knows?
There's certainly a potential idea that could be cool in the one being stuff.
My preference would have been for Quan Chi to die during the fight. I think we had enough of it.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think Quan Chi needs to die, but I think you need to find like a form of permanent death, because we all know that if a demon dies, they just respawn in hell, right?
Or going back to what I said earlier about Scorpion overrunning the Netherrealm as a place that he takes up ownership of.
Yeah.
My idea for Sherlock is that actually Sherlock is in a very tenuous place, because he survives Armageddon because he sent his doppelganger up to do the dirty work. He's been down in the Netherrealm this entire time. He never left. So maybe Scorpion has a partially dismembered Quan Chi somewhere who's feeding him information. And so that's how Scorpion gets to be a major thorn in Shinnok's side and really starts undermining his authority in hell. Maybe he's having Sub-Zero help him do it too. Raiden, definitely a dark god who needs to be brought to justice. We've established that. Katana. I would like to think that she also survives this, but Sindel didn't.
Good.
I imagine our thoughts are going to be identical on this, that like it's way past time for Katana to be the queen instead of the princess.
Correct.
I think she should have been the queen after MK3.
I mean, that would require a lot of rewriting to like 4 and Deception, so
I also would have had...
I mean, I don't know if it would.
And again, you know, I don't say this because I want Sindel to die or anything. It's just that she's always had the problem of being a walking plot device. I love her, but I agree with this. And, you know, everyone's got to take some hits.
Yeah.
Well, my idea for Sindel was once she's saved from MK3, she grants Katana the rightful role of Queen of Edenia. And then after that, she just kind of sits in the castle, just kind of minding her own business and being peaceful. But then once Katana's kind of corrupted by Onaga, that's when Sindel's like, oh shit, it's been a while since I've had to do this. And then some people might not even trust her because she was mind controlled at MK3 and she had to win those people over, potentially. I don't think there'd be much rewriting needing to happen.
I mean, you could certainly do some things with that. I just think that I don't want to... We're not trying to rewrite the series. We're trying to come up with a sequel to what does exist.
I know.
And certainly, I feel like if ever there's going to be a time to kill Sindel off and let Katana sit on the throne, Armageddon is certainly your opportunity to give a bunch of characters that kind of like closure and upgrade. And certainly, like, Shad is a Sindel fan, so for him to be on the same side as me with this idea, I think, shows that it's probably the appropriate way to go.
I love her. Like, she's one of my favorite, like, she's in my top 20. You guys both know this. And they keep trying to find interesting things to do with her, and they do it wrong every time. So, again, no offense to them, but you've either got to just divorce Sindel from Katana completely, because you're not getting rid of Katana, or just, you know, admit that she was a plot device for the character and put her to bed.
I mean, I feel the same way. I have always felt the same way about Sindel as everybody currently feels about Kabal. That every time they bring him back, it doesn't work. and they were only good at MK3.
I would have, though, the proviso that Sindel probably saved Katana's life. Maybe from Melina.
Yeah, I do think... Let me rephrase what I just said, like, that they're only good at MK3. Deception Sindel is actually probably the better Sindel.
Yes.
I think like a lot of Sindel fans, and this is why there was such a backlash against the retcon in 11, a lot of fans really enjoy seeing Sindel be her true self, her good self, and have that like motherly love with Katana, and like the ending where the two of them are hugging always gets reposted because it is like a moment worth depicting in the MK universe.
I was one of the first people to post that image.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
So like I do like I'm hard on Sindel and Sindel fans a lot because I have some problems with the character. But I do actually see value in her presence in Deception. And at the same time I feel like her potential was lived up to in Deception. So now you can sort of do something new, move on past her.
Close the circle.
Yeah.
And I actually like to believe, personally, this is my own little bit of headcanon, but I would like to think that it was not simply enough for Shujinko to just smash the Kami Dogo and hit Onaga with a fist, because she also researches binding spells and shit to, like, extract him from his body, and we know that Reptile survives it. He's an unconscious form. I think that whatever Sindel researched was brought to the table, and that's one of the reasons why the attack and defeat of Onaga was so successful.
Well, we certainly know that part of Onaga's defeat was Nightwolf sucking his soul out of Reptile and taking it to the Netherrealm. But if you wanted to add Sindel into the victory too and make it a huge team effort,
I think that's what happened. Personally.
I think that would be a little more dynamic. Yeah. Because certainly, like, despite the fact that Shujinko and Nightwolf's are the only endings that officially happened that involved defeating Onaga, Sindel's is one of the better endings in Deception. So certainly, if you could use elements of it, that would probably improve things.
Mm.
So yeah, like I think letting her have those moments she has in Deception, giving her like a big role in Onaga's defeat, letting her go out a hero, would take some of the sting out of the fact that, yeah, her story is kind of over after that. Just let Katana sit on the fucking throne already. It's a weird thing in Western culture that we kind of put princesses above queens in media.
Yeah.
That's always bothered me. Like, to me, Katana should be the fucking queen after MK3. Like, and if you're gonna do it, Armageddon's a good time to do it. So yeah, I'm totally okay with, like, killing Sindel. And that's easy for me to say because I like her less than you do. So the fact that you're saying it...
I love her, man, but I believe every character has an arc, and you shouldn't just...
Yeah, there needs to be a beginning and a middle and end to a story for it to be a good story.
Melina... exiled. It's one of the first things that Katana does as queen. Maybe what Sindel does is tell her to be a just and merciful ruler with a firm hand. And we've already seen that she can't really kill her even though she is not really her sister.
Yeah, I mean, there are elements of this that are already... They're not touched upon, but they should be. After the ending in Gold, where Katana... So Katana already killed Melina once in MK2, and it clearly didn't take. So in MK4, she throws her in a dungeon. So, a lot of people have speculated why keep her in a dungeon instead of executing her. Part of that is because she knows that she'll just come back from hell if she dies again, and part of that is... What if she actually thinks maybe there's something redeemable there, or she actually, like... feels some kind of like remorse or sympathy, because in the old timeline these two did grow up together for a period of time as sisters before Katana learned the truth. They have to have had some kind of connection before Katana learned that it was actually a clone.
She couldn't bring herself to do it a second time. And I don't think it was easy for her to do it the first time, but I've always maintained that in MK2, when she kills her, it isn't an act of cold-blooded murder. It's because Melina actively tries to murder her out of jealousy, and it's self-defense. Or maybe she also tries to tell Melina her own real origins, and she goes berserk and can't take it, and so that's the only thing.
I mean, we know that part of it is that Melina has caught Katana, committing treason against Khan, and is about to, run back to the castle and tell on her. And Katana has to stop her. Mm-hmm. I have always imagined that scene as when Katana kills Melina, it's not, quick, it's not matter of fact, she's not doing it because she has to, and she's not doing it out of hate. It's actually, a sad and somber thing.
To me, it's a confrontation, look at yourself in this pool of water. Don't think you have any authority over me. You're not even really my sister. And she goes nuts and goes after her, and yeah, you know how that ends.
I always imagined that there was a knockdown, drag out fight, and a point where Melina's on her knees, and it's sort of the symbolic finish him moment. And when Katana strikes the finishing blow, maybe it's she gives her a sad kiss on the forehead, and it's the kiss of death.
I go with the decap myself, but
I mean, you can do it that way, and it is hard to depict the kiss of death and not make it look silly, I'm sure, the way Katana does it. I don't necessarily want to see Melina blow up like a balloon and explode. That would turn a moment from sad to cartoony. There's probably there's a version of it you can do that's more like in Deadly Alliance, where it's the kiss delivers a dose of poison and she starts throwing up blood and just collapses dead.
So I think she's exiled, possibly to Outworld. This is your real home. You're never welcome back in Edenia ever again. I don't care what you do there. But you're Reiko's problem, not mine. Get out. So that's where Melina is right now. Maybe plotting to see if she can rule Outworld, since she knows she can't have Edenia. Maybe she's propositioning Reiko. I did like that angle of the MKX comic.
Yeah, there's... So again, I started writing my pitch back in 2008, so it was way before the MKX comic could have been a thing. And part of my pitch involves Reiko and Melina in a sort of competitive versus seductive, civil war, but also, that dynamic.
Jade survived, is Katana's bodyguard. Not much to do right now, but maybe dealing with a little Rain problem. I can see Rain as, stirring up trouble in Edenia. Not everyone needs to die. Katana's already lost her mom. She's exiled her sister. I'd like to think that Jade survived matters, but she's got to deal with Rain's attempts at raising hell in Edenia. I did like the way Deception kind of set them up to, not be exactly fond of each other.
Indeed.
It makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. I do think, if you're going to do that with Rain, you need an idea what his plot could be, because in Deception, he comes across like this almost comedically unimportant, he's just kind of this nuisance or this, local burglar I've been trying to catch.
He could be working on behalf of her.
I feel like a guy of Rain's, stature as a demigod, and also the fact that he rarely ever gets his due in the games. He deserves to have a more grand scheme.
Thing is, how do you kill God if we've decided that Taven has won Armageddon and he is now the protector of Edenia?
Indeed.
So maybe what Raiden is doing here is trying to get power, possibly from the Netherrealm, possibly from Chaos Realm. Who knows? But I can see it being Jade's problem to one extent or another. Maybe Taven's tipped Jade off as to what he's trying to do. Maybe she's got to take him down.
Perhaps.
So Ashura.
Yep.
She is now, I think, the Elder Gods' tool, their champion.
You think that's where being mind-controlled by a vampire slayer sword gets you?
Yeah, actually. Like,
Okay.
She wanted to ascend. She did. She got out of hell.
I mean, she went from hell to a weird vision of quote-unquote angels telling her to slay demons. And then it sent her to Veternus.
I think that she was actually pretty successful there, which leads me to say that I would, sadly, probably off Natara as well.
Really, the weird, overzealous mind control, kill all vampires quest wins?
Yeah.
All
Because
right.
you know who's actually backing her? You know who these angels are?
Who's
The
that?
fucking Elder Gods. Who say, hey, you want to kill some demons? Well, there's a really big bad yellow one backed out in the Netherrealm right now. He's causing all sorts of problems. We got nothing to do with that. But if you could just go clean that up, we'd really appreciate that.
Your perspective on the Elder Gods paints them as much bigger dicks than I would.
Oh, they're assholes. They're such assholes.
See, I've always
They played Scorpion like a fiddle, and in my perspective, they're using her to clean up their own mess.
I still perceive the Elder Gods the way they're presented in 3, where they're detached from humanity because it's like when you're a baby and you fall and skin your knee, do your grandparents drive over to your house, push your parents out of your way, and like put the Neosporin on and bandage? Like, it's not their fucking job.
And like, don't get me wrong, like, I wouldn't give the Elder Gods a personal stake in this.
I just feel like the reason that they brought Scorpion's clan back wrong is because they're kind of out of touch. They don't know what the difference is.
I think the reason for that was because he dared to make demands of them. So I think that was actually an effort to teach him a lesson, which went terribly awry.
So you're saying that they're not gods of their word?
Well, they're gods of they kept to their word.
I mean, this certainly paints them as outright villains.
I don't know about villains, but like, you could make the argument that like
the audience is already sort of primed to dislike the Elder Gods after years of them quote unquote not helping.
But if you have Scorpion like saying, "I was your champion, I did your work, now fulfill your goddamn end of the bargain," because you know how his character is.
Yeah,
he's intensely angry. Like, they would take exception to that, and I don't think that they'd be in the wrong to do so.
I just think that the way people are going to perceive it is they're going to take Scorpion's side because they already don't like the Elder Gods. And now if you're showing them as like manipulative and taking this very like shady character in Ashura and having her like turning her on Scorpion as an attack dog, there's a connotation.
That's fair, but they are directly responsible for unleashing a bunch of pissed off undead ninjas on the realms.
I suppose.
You know, I mean, at least MK11's shown us that they're not all perfect.
I feel like if you set that engine in motion, the only way it can end is with the Elder Gods dead. As like a karmic outcome.
I mean, I don't think I'd involve them in the story any more than that. Or perhaps I'd also have her, or alternately, I'd have her be sent after Shang Tsung, because he's the real threat to the realms right now. he's the one that the one being is working for.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do that one being stuff, somebody's gotta be sent to take care of that.
Gotta stitch back up.
That is the one thing that the Elder Gods do care about. I feel like the Elder Gods get a bad rap, and I'd like to see them portrayed more positively in the future. After I look at MK3, and I see like the part where they help Raiden protect the souls from being stolen by Shao Kahn, and what I see is a group of characters who represent John Tobias's point of view that mortals should be in control of their own destinies. It's almost like the Star Trek Prime Directive, that if you do it for them, they won't learn nothing. And there's nothing more beautiful and important than letting a mortal reach their full potential. And like Liu Kang is the example of what happens when you do let them do that. And he's, You
could kind of tell that story through Ashura too, because she started as a simple demon.
I suppose. I feel like
what she is.
The audience is not inclined to see Scorpion's enemies as good people.
Oh, they should stop seeing Scorpion as good people, because he's not inherently. He's got a good person. He was a good person. He's got a sense of honor. But he's also really, really vindictive and angry, and not above using low means to get what he wants.
I feel like that's a Flanderization that's happened to Scorpion over the years. It certainly wasn't true of, like, MK2 and 3.
Yeah, that's not... I don't really view that shit as, like, real Scorpion.
Yeah.
Well, I mean... It was true of him during Tobias's run, too. Hey, you want to help me get what I want? Okay, Quan Chi. Sure, I'll turn against the Earthrealmers for you. Why not?
I don't know.
Is he turning against the Earthrealmers?
No, that's the 9 version of things.
He'll do what he has to do to get what he wants.
Well, I don't think that's coming from a vindictive, shitty way.
No, but I'm saying Scorpion prior to Hanzo's resurrection, I always view it as an intrinsically very neutral character. Like during MK3, before Khan made him the offer to join up, which he accepted.
Yeah, I always saw him as just kind of lost and confused, because he was told that if he got his revenge, his soul would rest in peace. As in, not be tormented in the fires of the Netherrealm. So every game that goes by, where he's still down there at the end, he's like, what do I have to do? And there's a point in 3 and 4 where he just doesn't want to be in hell anymore.
I think you have to look at it within the lens of his character from 2. If he's doing bad things, I have to look at it from that certain point of view he had in MK2, where it's not that he wants to do these things. It's not that he even agrees with the people he's working for. It's more, I imagine he probably feels weary doing what he's doing with for Shao Kahn in 3. I don't see him actually slaughtering or fighting the heroes or anything.
I can see him fighting the heroes, maybe not necessarily killing them, but this is twice now that he has accepted to work for people of
I feel like
ill repute. And
I feel like there's a character
in a
movie that I'm trying to remember.
You know how I was saying that he would actually, at this point, be trying to take down Shinnok in the Netherrealm? And maybe kind of have Quan Chi dismembered and extracting information out of him? I would probably also have him be enlisting the likes of Moloch and Draman to help him. And when Sub-Zero initially goes down there to help him dethrone Shinnok, he takes a good long look at the depths that Scorpion has sunk to. And he's actually the one that goes, are you sure you want to be doing this? And that's actually probably what would stop him.
I I don't know. I kind of feel like Scorpion has had the doing a bad thing and then a moment, like, of clarity comes over him and he does the good thing. Has happened 2 or 3 times already in the old timeline. And I'd kind of like to take Scorpion in a different direction. And when we get to my turn, I have a fix for what happened in Armageddon with the zombies.
Right, that's cool. But I'm taking this as, you know, this is just where he is right now. This is what he's being led down to.
Right, fair enough.
And
I mean, if you do just have to take his Armageddon story at face value, you do kind of have to deal with the fact that
you do.
That's an outright heel turn, and if you're going to fix it, you need to find a natural way to turn him back around again. I'm tired of him doing the bad thing and needing to turn around again. I
get that. And I'm using Sub-Zero to maybe fix that the same way I would with Kung Lao and Goro.
Gotcha.
We'll get to more in a moment, because I actually wanted to specify something. But anyway, Li Mei probably killed Bo Raicho during the pyramid battle. It was his last mistake. Died during it anyway.
That would be unfortunate, tragic. I could see it happening, but there's also I have weird wonderings about what exactly happened to her in Deception and Armageddon, because we know that she was struggling with the fact that her soul was merged with one of Onaga's mummies, and so she was trying to resist a supernatural attraction and loyalty to him. And the next time we see her in Armageddon, she's in the Netherrealm. So theoretically, she failed and they had to kill her?
I think so, too.
But when we see her in the Netherrealm, she's attacking Shinnok. And she's saying something about, putting an end to his evil, I think, in the dialogue. So I wonder if going to hell didn't, free her soul from the mummy curse. And now she's trying to, redeem herself post-mortem.
Maybe. I would say one way or another that, I don't know. Assuming that wasn't just an apparition.
Yeah, because there is that fuzzy thing about which characters that Shinnok made Taven fight were just illusions or not.
Assuming that she was there at the Battle of Armageddon, though.
Yeah, my assumption is even if they are all illusions, Shinnok picked those specific illusions because the scenario would be believable. And so those people actually are in the Netherrealm. Or would be the kind of people, Havok would just show up to try and overthrow somebody in another realm, even without being dead.
Assuming she hadn't been down there, though, I probably would have had her die during the pyramid battle.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I don't dislike the Li Mei who grew up to be the mayor of her village or whatever, the sort of older, wiser, older lady from Crouching Tiger style Li Mei we got in MKX. But I'm also not sure that, it's sort of like what we said about Sindel and what you said about Kenshi. That character might have finished their arc.
Yeah.
Maybe if they die in Armageddon, that's fine. I feel bad about it because I also feel like Li Mei never fully lived up to some sort of potential, but I don't know what that potential is.
I feel the same way about her the way I kind of do about Nitara. They're good characters, it's just that I don't know where they were going to go with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I don't use Li Mei in my pitch either. I have her die in Armageddon.
So next up, Tanya. Ran away, survived the fight, is now, however, a head on a stick outside of Fortress Reiko.
Oof.
Ouch.
No traitors.
Damn.
Reiko does not abide treachery. He does not keep a court of people that are going to undermine his authority. So Tanya, not being able to return to Edenia because Jade is keeping a lookout for her,
Right.
thought she could kind of go back and, maybe ease her way into the good graces of the current emperor. No. No.
I mean, that definitely is a believable scenario. I could absolutely see that fitting Reiko, and if you're going to use a character to establish his personality and his cleverness, and that he's not going to be fooled by anybody coming into his empire and saying, I want to work for you, but they're secretly going to stab him in the back. The fact that he's the one guy who will never fall for that, that's a good character to set that up with.
It's also a matter of, you were actively attempting to let Onaga bring about the end of all creation. You do not deserve a place in this or any realm. You're a warning. Please, step up to the block. Have a seat.
That's awesome.
Frost. See, I actually kind of have a hard time believing she was at the battle to begin with. She was laid out on a slab unconscious when Sub-Zero and Taven were done. Kind of the way Noob side bot was, I think.
Isn't there some dialogue about after Taven fights her, she so when he first frees her from the block of ice, she mistakes him for Sub-Zero and goes after him because she's delirious. But he smacks the sense into her, and she realizes he's not Sub-Zero and runs away.
Yeah, actually, you're right. She flees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm mixing that up with the end of or some point in Unchained.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Again, I like her, but I feel like she was a stepping stone in Sub-Zero's learning experience.
Yeah,
I don't know that I'd have her survive the fight either.
Frost is tricky because her role seems to have been a combination of they wanted to take the mentor and student thing, and normally the wise kung fu mentor, the student is maybe they start out cocky and they learn humility and they end up becoming a good person through the teachings. The subversion of that is Obi-Wan and Anakin. Frost is literally Anakin Skywalker. In personality, she is to a T that guy. Because Anakin's whole thing was that he was super powerful when he was young, and so he grew up to be way too arrogant, and he always thought his teacher was holding him back, and he didn't have the patience to learn, and he just refused to accept that what they were trying to teach him was wisdom. And it just made him angrier and more bitter and ambitious. So you can do more with that because you could show her going full Darth Vader, or you could treat that as her role was to develop Sub-Zero further, and now that Sub has been through that experience of failing as a teacher, he's a wiser teacher next time. That you could just use her as a way to improve his methods of being the Grandmaster of the clan and then be done with her. Or you could finish her arc as Vader. You can go either way. It all depends on how much you care about Frost as opposed to caring about Frost as a tool to develop Sub-Zero.
That's the thing. I feel like Sub-Zero has unfinished business elsewhere. In my view of things, he's got to help bring Scorpion back to his senses. He's also got Smoke and Noob Saibot to worry about.
Right.
To an extent, Serena too.
He has way too many people who he has to fix already, yes.
So yeah, that's it. I think that maybe losing her either strengthens his resolve or helps him accept that you can't save everyone.
Yeah, I think in my version of things, Sub is less burdened with having to fix these broken people because I tried to give them agency to fix themselves.
On the topic of that, we covered Sindel, dead,
Right.
Hotaru, my point of view, dead. Kira, probably dead, maybe her or Cobra, one or the other. Serena. I don't think she actually made it to the Battle of Armageddon. I think she was in hell when this whole thing happened.
Well, the last time we see her is in Conquest, where she's like been forced to work with Kia Jataka and Quan Chi again, and Taven knocks the girls out and Quan Chi runs away. So presumably Serena could like pick herself up off the ground after like Taven's gone and she regains consciousness, and then she's like, Quan Chi's gone, I can do what I want now, and she runs off. And then maybe she's at the pyramid.
Possibly. They also kind of like burst into flames. So I don't know what that's worth to you.
Well, I'm not sure if they all like. I'm not sure.
It's all three.
I vaguely remember them remaining as unconscious bodies on the ground, or maybe Kia and Jataka disappear when you beat them, but Serena's body is still there.
It's all three of them. I was watching a playthrough recently because I've been working on the chronology project. They all burst into flame.
Weird. I don't know if I'd necessarily keep that as a canon thing, because it's more of a weird gameplay thing than a cutscene thing. I don't know.
I would connect Serena to Smoke here. Because like I said earlier, Smoke is, I think, by this point, freed from Noob Saibot. To a certain extent, he was on the good side in the Battle of Armageddon.
That's true.
Like, whatever happened during the skirmish, Smoke ran away, Noob Saibot was laid out. We remember seeing that.
Yeah.
I think Smoke got back to his senses, and in the time that's passed since, he's been trying to help Sub-Zero find a way to get his brother back to himself. And I think that maybe he thinks that the key to doing it is to find someone familiar with purging the Netherrealm corruption, or resisting it, and he thinks that maybe Serena could be the key, finding a way to do it once and for all. So Serena may be Smoke's goal. They have a bit of history together. Shiva, probably keep dead.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, what they do with her in the new timeline where she becomes queen, you can't really replicate in a timeline where she's died and gone to hell. It was sort of an opportunistic thing where she happened to still be around, and the throne was unoccupied, so the writer was able to slot her in there.
I would also like to say that Serena would be more than willing to help Smoke, because it would mean reconstituting the person that once saved her life. So there. Or spared her life, anyway. Beautiful music plays. Baraka. Dead.
That's fair.
Shit.
Baraka's dead in mine, too. Look, 11 has given me a new appreciation for him, but I have in my pitch, I want to expand the Tarkatan race with some OCs, and I don't think 3 Tarkatans on the same roster is a great idea. So I would remove Baraka to make room for new characters who flesh out his race more. Like, you know, Goro wasn't in MK2 when they created Kintaro, and those two weren't in MK3 when they created Shiva. Sometimes you need to fly on your own. You can't have the guy who you're an expansion of sharing space with you.
Motaro, also dead. Never came back. And this is actually kind of key into the way I want to use Kintaro.
Okay.
Because Kintaro is seeing the way that the Shokan have tried to make peace with Edenia and rise up against Shao Kahn. And don't forget that the Tiger race is seen as more brutal, kind of shunned. So Kintaro sees this kind of shakeup in the Shokan hierarchy as his chance. And I think that Kintaro actually does something that no Shokan in history has ever done. He reaches out to the centaurs who are now leaderless and wandering the realms. And he says, you want power? You want to be the dominant species? I'll help you get it. Follow me.
Interesting.
Who tells him that?
Kintaro.
So Kintaro allies with the centaurs against his own people.
Yep.
Okay.
And the centaurs and his own outcast clan.
Right.
And for him, it's as much about taking power as much as it is about revenge and bitterness.
Overthrow the entrenched royal family.
Yep. And he's kind of the common enemy that I think that Goro and Kung Lao would kind of have to stand up against.
Okay.
Havok. Does he need motivation?
Not really.
I mean,
he can just kind of look at what's going on and go, that looks like a fun time, let me get involved.
He's an open book. You can do anything. I don't want him to be killed during the battle. Or maybe I do. Maybe he's like, you know what'd be fun? Netherrealm. Right here. Cut my head off.
Yeah, the thing that's fascinating about Chaos Realmers is they walk around with open wounds and their bones showing, and it's clear that, like, the rules of nature are rules, and therefore don't apply to them.
So I don't know.
Can this guy die? Maybe not.
I mean,
you know, he could be the one whispering things in Rain's ear. How to get power. How to kill gods. Fuck shit up for the sake of it. Maybe he's the secret thorn in Edenia's side.
maybe if you burn him to straight ashes?
I mean, anybody who dies just appears in the nether realm. And then they can, like, find a way to escape. And if you kill them in the nether realm, they'll respawn. That's actually, like, figuring out how to permanently kill characters is an element of my own pitch, which we will, as I keep saying, get to.
Getting towards the end here to polish things off. Drummond and Moloch, working for Scorpion in the Netherrealm as his torturers. Tag team character. And like I said before, their presence is one of the many factors that get Sub-Zero to go, what are you doing, bro? Who are you hanging out with? Look at this guy. No skin. Is that a fucking owl? Where'd he get the fucking owl? Owls can't fly down here. It's too hot. So yeah, they're having fun with Quan Chi strapped to a wall. Shao Kahn.
Are you skipping meat?
Okay. Meat? Yes. Shao Kahn is a it's a soul in an orb attached to Shang Tsung's belt. It's how he keeps himself alive. Didn't make it through the pyramid battle, but in Shang's own interests, maybe saved his life to keep himself alive, but never to let him out again. Maybe. Onaga, dead. Probably at Shao Kahn's hand before he got all fucked up.
And
Blaze
has to die for anything. Yeah.
Yes. But as I was saying, meat. Yes.
Very well.
And that's where I take all the characters.
All right.
I don't know that I'd put all of what I've envisioned here into a single game, but that's where I can kind of see their paths going.
All right. Okay, folks, so we've just hit the 2-hour mark, and my portion's going to be just as long as Shad's, if not more. So I think we're going to have to split this one up into a 2-parter. Be sure to tune in next week for that, and remember, this episode has been a Patreon-timed exclusive. If you'd like to hear content like this a week early, or vote on what we record next, you can do that for just $1 a month at patreon.com/nethercast. And on that note, we cue the music.